There is a major story that is bubbling up, and I've had my eyes on this for the last couple of weeks, and I've been waiting for a time to explain it. Now, a lot of people are getting fired up online about this, and the anger is partially justified, but not totally. And we need to kind of just take a step back and make sure that we do not get too intense too early in a way that might not actually be rooted in facts or substance. But there is some truth to it. We got to get the facts. That's what our show does. We explore the facts. We are a truth-seeking show. So as you know, President Trump's big, beautiful bill is working its way through Congress. This very difficult process of getting people like Susan Collins and Don Bacon and getting all the moderate Republicans to agree on spending cuts and border security and just all the different elements of this process have been exhausting. We're finally getting to a place of completion where we have to find out whether or not the components of the bill are allowed to remain. What do you mean by that? So remember, this is a reconciliation bill. So when a bill is a reconciliation bill, it has a very precise technical meaning. It literally means that you are reconciling the budgets of two different fiscal years. And so a reconciliation bill, because you are reconciling two different budgets from two different years, does not require 60 votes. Said more bluntly, you can bypass the filibuster. The filibuster, of course, requires 60 votes to then get to quorum and then get to a vote on the specific piece of legislation. So, for example, if they wanted to go pass a bill right now, Congress, on something that was non-reconciliation, it would require 60 votes. Now, all of this is just Senate rules. They could change the rules at any time. The Senate was intended to actually become a majoritarian body. Thomas Jefferson actually always wanted it to be a majoritarian body. On the other side, though, the fact that we had the filibuster stopped a lot of the totally insane stuff that Joe Biden wanted to do during his administration. And so we shouldn't be too quick to throw out the filibuster. So in front of us now is an opportunity to pass President Trump's hallmark agenda bill, the big, beautiful bill. Border funding, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, Trump tax cuts, drill, baby, drill. All of this has to fit as a budgetary, financial reconciliation provision. So certain things in the bill that might not be germane to budgetary measures will be thrown out of the bill because then it does not pass the filibuster reconciliation test. Now, this is very important. It's called the Byrd rule. So you have to pass what is called the Byrd bath. You have to pass the Byrd bath. But here's where things get a little murky and they get awfully confusing and where people are getting fired up, partially rightfully so, which is that, well, who decides? Is there a committee? Is there like a Supreme Court of the U.S. Senate? Is there a bipartisan panel? Are there people that have been there for quite some time? Who is the umpire? Who is the referee? Who is the final decision maker of what is germane to a reconciliation bill and what is not? Now, we went through this entire reconciliation process. The highest profile reconciliation fight was when? Anybody? 2009, actually. The Affordable Care Act. When Obama wanted to pass Obamacare, a lesser appreciated memory was when Obama wanted to pass this monstrosity of a health care bill and he needed 60 votes. And he had 60 votes until the lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, died. There was a special election in Massachusetts on the sole reason as a referendum. And Massachusetts elected a Republican senator by the name of Scott Brown to actually reject the 60-vote threshold. We in kind of conservative folklore forget this moment. I was a freshman in high school, and I remember it intimately, where Obamacare was put on a referendum, and Scott Brown became a U.S. Senator from Massachusetts as a Republican, and Ted Kennedy passed away. And by the way, Ted Kennedy was a scum. He's a bad guy, a bad hombre, no good whatsoever. Different topic for a different time. So basically then Obama had to change some of the wording because 60 went down to 59 because he did not have the votes to be able to pass the filibuster. And by the way, there were a lot of what they called blue dog Democrats that basically offered themselves as sacrificial lambs. Daschle would be one of them. I think he was from Blake State of South Dakota. There were a ton of these guys that basically offered themselves up, and they have not elected Democrats in these states ever since. That was the turning point. So then who decides? So that was the fight back in 2009, 2010, and Obamacare actually became less radical and less pernicious because of the birdbath. Well, who decides? Well, it is a singular person that holds all the cards. It's a singular person that decides whether something is in the bill or something is not in the bill. She is becoming the most powerful person in Washington, D.C., and her name is Elizabeth McDonough. Now, Elizabeth McDonough, to her credit, was actually very helpful under Joe Biden. Elizabeth McDonough removed a lot of the total and complete insanity that people like AOC and Elizabeth Warren wanted to fit into reconciliation bills. However, Elizabeth McDonough right now, she holds almost all the cards, sort of. So she holds the cards because John Thune has given her the cards. And John Thune wants to allow this process to play out. And the reason why this is bubbling up to a fever pitch, and trust me, I get it, but it's my job to tell you when to get angry and also to explain things away and say, let's hold some of our fire to see if we can't figure this out. And one of the reasons why people are losing it this morning is that she removed a provision from the big, beautiful bill that would have saved us hundreds of billions of dollars, saying illegals cannot get Medicaid. Now, is that a final ruling? Is that a final gut punch? No, actually. Here's where I just encourage you to take a deep breath and to allow somewhat of this process to play out. They can reword things and go back to her. Now, this is such a broken process that this is a series of broken meetings. And here is the kicker. Here is where you are being led towards anger without all of the story. These are the Democrats that are leaking that she's blocking this. The process is still underway. I talked to top-level folks on the Senate. I also talked to the people in the office of the president of the Senate. Do you know, if you don't know who the president of the Senate is, you should do your civics lesson. It's not John Thune. And people in that whole kind of community are saying, just allow this to play out a little bit, because it's the Democrats that are actually leaking while they're going back and forth with Ms. McDonough. This is an ongoing process where they, okay, can we word it this way? Can we do it this way? And she says yes or no. Now, look, I think this is a little bit of a goofy, kind of unsustainable model that one person, one staffer, she's literally a staffer. She was not even Senate confirmed. She was not elected. She's not like, it's like this weird kind of, she's not like a new branch of government. It's a little bit too much power for a staffer. I think it should be at least a committee that you could have votes and you could have different members. There's got to be a better process than just like one staffer that obviously could be very influenced. But right now, Elizabeth McDonough holds a lot of the cards in this process. And by holding the cards, she is the recipient of a lot of anger from the base. Now, how do we get rid of her? If she continues her nonsense and it just gets out of control, John Thune can remove her. And you could get a new parliamentarian, but then she becomes a martyr and you might get an even worse one in return. All that to say, she's incredibly powerful. We don't know how it's going to turn out. In fact, the future of our agenda might be with her.